And welcome back to another episode of Casey Campbell's Videocast. Of course, I'm Casey Campbell from Great Lakes Post. And now joining us right now is the head coach of the Akron football team, Mr. Tom Arth. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing great, Casey. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I know it was your first year was not a very easy year for you. Just to recap on the 2019 season, what did you learn?
Well, I think we all learned a lot. There were a lot of positives, and I think that's the most important things for us in our program and what we had to accomplish in our first year. I think we did. A lot of those things didn't translate to the win column for us yet, but they're critical pieces that you have to have in place in order to build a successful program moving forward. And I think that that's what we were able to accomplish this year, and it's truly what we focused our attention on, and in building our program and building our culture and establishing what our expectations and our standards are for how we perform in the classroom, the way we prepare, whether that's training in the off season through our strength and conditioning program, or how we prepare in meetings and walkthroughs, and how we practice, and just understanding like what our program is about, and what it takes to truly be successful. And those are the things that we've really focused on, and I think have built a strong foundation for us to move forward.
We were talking about before you came on about what has it been like during staying at home. And the thing is, there are some noted perks you get to, as someone that spends a lot of time on the road, and someone like you're enjoying just being at home and just being with your family.
Yeah, it's obviously such a trying and challenging time for our country and really the world. And our thoughts and prayers are always with those that have been affected by COVID-19. But I think it is also important to look at the positives, and the things that are coming out of this. And there's so many, and I'm sure we'll get to a number of them. But certainly, as it's related to family life, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I'm sure people are experiencing this all over the country. We've all been ordered to stay home, and they've canceled youth practices, just like they've canceled our college spring practice. So it's been really nice. My family, I have 5 kids, my wife, and it's very rare that we're all together and we don't, one doesn't have a practice here, or I got this going on. So it's been really nice for us to be here and to really just have each other. We've been able to eat dinner every night as a family, which is obviously very special time, and been able to just spend time together, going for walks, hanging out, watching movies almost every night. So it's been really good. I think from a family perspective, I think that'll be one thing that I take out of this, and when we come out on the other side, and I think we'll all look back and say, that was a really special time in our lives, and a very rare time. And who knows if you're ever going to get this again. And I talk to my kids all the time about it, is just take advantage of this. Obviously it's, we all want to get out, we all want to do things, but this is, a rare time, really in our history, where we've been able to focus so much attention and just be together, as a family. And for me, it's been really special that way.
You talked about working from home. I know you're busy trying to put the 2021 your recruiting classes together. How different is that now, with not having in-person visits and not even being able to see each other because of social distancing? What kind of changes, and have you gotten used to using stuff like this, or calling and texting and all them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It certainly has been different, but I think in a lot of ways, again, it's been great. For me, I told our coaches, we had a staff meeting yesterday morning, and I was like, I don't know how I'm ever going to get you guys back, to the office whenever this opens back up, because I think we've all found that, we've been able to get a lot of work done. I know, especially for me, when I'm at the office, it's pretty constant interruption, whether it's a player, coming in, which, I encourage, and we want, or a coach or, something else. There's just all sorts of things coming across my desk every single day. So it's really hard to get that focused work in. And, being at home, I've gotten to get so much done. I've been able to, really go through our recruiting board, offensively, defensively, special teams, and evaluate every player, that we're recruiting. And we've been meeting, we met as an offensive staff 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, and then this week we started meeting as a defensive staff and really going through, each position, together, and just really being able to identify and target the guys that are really important. And I know our coaches have done a great job in being able to stay in contact, and a lot of different ways. You're doing that now, and I think everybody's a little bit more open to all the different opportunities from a technological standpoint that we have. And it's been great. Recruiting's gone really well, and I think we've adjusted to to the situation at a pretty good rate. And fortunately for us, we had a number of junior days this winter. We started doing junior days, and we worked really hard. We'd have our official visits going on Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday morning we'd get the official visitors would leave, and we'd have all these elite junior prospects coming onto our campus Sunday at about 11 o'clock. So we worked really hard with that, and we got the majority of our top prospects up on campus this winter. So I feel really fortunate that we were a little bit ahead of the game from that standpoint, and I think we're sitting in in pretty good position with a lot of the guys that we're very interested in.
Have you checked in? How many players have you checked in with, and to see how they're doing with all this?
We meet with our players really every day. So in some form or fashion, Mondays are typically our academic meetings. So those are going to be more one-on-one FaceTimes, for example, where, each position coach is really responsible for checking in with, each player in their position and reviewing their academic, standing, what their upcoming assignments are, grades they've received, all those sorts of things, just their to-do list. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we've been having football meetings. Just install meetings, and, being able to get on, we use WebEx for that. So we can, we've been able to watch film with our guys in a really effective way. And those have been awesome. And then Fridays is a little bit, more back to individual. We're just checking in and kind of, like you said, making sure guys are doing all right, and they're getting their workouts in, and just kind of a general well-being type of check. So we're hitting them every day, and I think that's been kind of the big thing for us as a coaching staff was what would we be doing if we were at school and we were working as normal. And we've tried to keep that schedule as consistent as we possibly can. Not only for ourselves as a staff in terms of, our staff meetings, but also for our players. And I think the biggest challenge in it is that we don't have them on campus for workouts, and, we haven't been able to have spring practice. And for us as a developmental program and a team that, is really building, for the future, this is an important time, so it's, we have to, figure out how to overcome that and, take advantage of the situation, in each day that we have now. But I think, in terms of the communication with our players, I think we've done a really good job.
Have you had to play like teacher and try to figure out what your kids are learning? Have you learned any new things? Because with everything online, and, kids are now learning from their kitchen tables, their bedrooms, and all that. Have you learned anything?
I've been on a few calls, when I, get a kind of a natural break in the day, and I pop out if, one of my kids is on a call with a teacher, especially the little ones. My two older ones, my 13-year-old and 12-year-old, they're pretty self-sufficient. But we also have a fourth grader and a first grader. We have a preschooler as well. She doesn't have a whole lot going on right now, but the fourth grader and the first grader, I try to do as much with them as I can. My wife has obviously, been incredible, as far as all that goes. But My fourth grader, for example, they did a lunch buddies. They do it every Wednesday at 12. So, I'll come out for lunch and, I'll sit and, sit on her call with her during lunch buddies and stuff like that. My son, my first grader, has typically a 2:45 call every day with his teacher. It's a one-on-one, kind of lesson. So I try to come out, it's only usually about 15 minutes. So I'll come out and, sit in on that. And, it's been cool. Again, these are things that I never get to do, and I never get to experience with my kids. And I know they love it. I know they really appreciate it. And, I think it's going to be, really great memories for them.
And if the challenge is if football does get going this year, what kind of challenges do you think you might have if a season does get played with maybe possibly no summer practices or anything like that?
Well, again, I think the biggest challenge is just for us, personally, just as a young program and a young team, relatively inexperienced team, and in the winter we signed 13 players that enrolled early or that enrolled in January for us that are on our. So we're a completely different team. We have a completely different roster than what we had last year. So just not being able to take advantage of that, I think is the biggest thing in terms of our practices, in the spring, and being able to have those guys, in our weight program for, the entire semester. Now they got 8 great weeks in, which is huge. And we had an outstanding winter. I mean, the best winter I've ever been a part of, as a football coach. And this is, my 11 years, in coaching, hands down, the best, most competitive, winner, just most, greatest leadership, greatest growth and progress that I've seen. So it was, disappointing when, we just finished up our, 8 weeks of the winter program and we're like going to start the practice and, we're meeting, had a meeting scheduled to, kind of kick off spring practice. And, we had to switch that meeting to let everybody know they were going home, so it was disappointing from that standpoint. But, for me, like, I know a lot of coaches around the country are talking about, well, if we don't get our guys back until, by July or whatever it is, like there's just no way we'll be ready to go. I disagree with all that. And, my background, I was a Division III coach for 7 years, before I transitioned to Division I football. And, we only got spring practice, we just got spring practice, not too long ago at the Division III level. And, once spring practice ends, they go to finals. You have no contact. You're not allowed. There are no mandatory workouts all summer long. Your guys are, they're on their own. And, you build the culture in your program and the expectations, and you recruit the right type of guys. They don't need coaches to tell them what to do. They don't need coaches to be there and watching them over their shoulder. And, so I think that, we'd show up. Our guys would be home, for summer. And, obviously there'd be a number that would stay on campus or still work out, in our weight room. But there was nothing formal that we could do with them, like you can at Division I level. And we'd show up, middle of August. We'd have 2 weeks of training camp and we'd go play. We'd go play a whole season. And in some cases we'd, go play, 14 games. So we've certainly done it, and we've done it with, with lesser athletes. So I think that, it's obviously, not my decision, but at the end of the day, we've done that before. We've done more with less, to be honest. So, I'm just, we're taking it, each day, one day at a time, and, really maximizing everything we can with each opportunity each day that we have. And whenever, things, whenever we're able to have our players return to campus, we'll be ready to go. We'll have a plan in place and we'll pick up, as we need to.
All right. Coach, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I know, hopefully football comes back in July and things maybe start to get down there. But until then, enjoy this time and we'll maybe talk to you later on.
Okay. Thanks, Casey. Appreciate you having me.